Good afternoon, Bapak-Bapak, speaker, moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Sobat Fintech, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. And today we welcome you to the Fintech Talk with the topic Beyond the Rating, Understanding How Credit Scoring Works. I'm William from AFTECH Secretariat, and I will be the MC of this afternoon session. The session, which shows solid collaboration between Indonesia Fintech Association or AFTECH with Tongdun, will be delivered in English. So before we start the Fintech Talk, please allow me to share you a little bit about what we are doing this afternoon. So what we are doing this afternoon, the Fintech Talk, is part of the National Fintech Week 2020. So from 11 to the 25th of November, in collaboration with Bank Indonesia, with the Financial Services Authority or OJK, Asosiasi Fintech Indonesia, and also Asosiasi Fintech Syariah Indonesia, we are conducting the National Fintech Week, which was opened by Indonesia Fintech Summit on 11 to 12 November. And Indonesia Fintech Summit itself was officially opened by President Joko Widodo. And for today's event is a part of National Fintech Week, and National Fintech Week itself is a concerted effort, is a collaborative effort, which shows the strategic partnership between regulators and industry to support the government's program in accelerating national economic recovery. So together with us, we have distinguished speakers from regulators and industry. And also we are going to discuss about the benefits and also the financial services sectors and the potential collaboration in innovative credit scoring and also to upcoming collaboration in fintech industry in Indonesia. Before we begin this session, I would like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, Sobat Fintech, that you could type your question in the Q&A box so that the moderator can choose the questions and also ask the panelists or speakers during the Q&A session. And by the way, today we are very grateful and delighted to have Bapak Mario Lasut as the moderator of this session. Bapak Mario Lasut is the Chief Marketing Officer of Finansialku. So without further ado, to continue our discussion, the floor is yours, Pak Mario.
Okay, thank you, Mr. William. Good afternoon, all participants. My name is Mario Agustian Lasut. I will be your moderator for this panel discussion, Pekan Fintech Nasional 2020, the activity series Fintech Talk number 4, Beyond the Rating, Understanding How Credit Scoring Works. I hope everyone staying safe, healthy, and productive at this time. I would like to call and introduce our fantastic four speakers, and we are very lucky to have all four speakers because these speakers complete from regulators, fintech lending, credit scoring technology, and also from banking. Hope we all get deep insight and complete knowledge about innovative credit scoring during this panel. I will introduce first for the four speakers. First of all is from regulators, Pak Triyono Gani, Head of Digital Financial Information Group from OJK. First of all, I will congratulate to OJK. Happy birthday, OJK. The 9th birthday. Hope the OJK will advance and also supervision fintech industry in Indonesia. The second one is Jekyll Ma, co-founder and COO of Tongdun Group. Tongdun Group Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider headquartered in Hangzhou, Zhejiang. Tongdun also have joined OJK regulatory sandbox as credit scoring cluster since 2019. The third speaker is Roni Wijaya, founder of Indodana. Indodana itself is a platform fintech lending dari is a platform fintech lending PT Arta Dana Technology, founded since November 2017 and get OJK license since May 2020. PT Artadana Technology Services are lending, installment without credit card, and pay later. Last but not least, Mr. Kaspar Situmorang, EVP of Digital Banking Development and Operation Bank Rakyat Indonesia, one of the biggest banking and financial groups state-owned in Indonesia for more than 224 years and has the largest network in Indonesia. Okay, let's start this panel discussion, gentlemen. The number one questions, 100 million question for Pak Triyono Gani, Mr. Jekelma, Mr. Roni Wijaya, Mr. Kaspar Situmorang. What is credit scoring and how credit scoring works? Maybe we can start from Pak Triyono Gani first.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Mario. And I would like to greet all the panelists. Mr. Jekelma, how are you? Nice to see you again. And certainly Pak Kaspar, my best friend. And Pak Roni Wijaya. And certainly I would like to greet all the participants who are joining the session. This is afternoon session, so would be a little bit hard because of after having a very hard, very heavy lunch, and then we always get sleepy after that. But certainly, I believe that the topic of this afternoon discussion will be very interesting. So we can always wake you up. So I will guarantee that. Okay. To discuss about the credit scoring is very important. If I don't want to talk about the definition, because the definition is certainly a part of theory, but we are not talking about theory here, but we are going to talk about how to apply this policy, and certainly applying this innovative credit scoring in order to prosper our economy. First of all, I would like to share about our experience. We certainly know that in Indonesia and in some countries, there are several regulation concerning the credit bureau, and certainly this is very important to lessen the credit risk of the industry. And in Indonesian case, I think everybody knows about BI checking or the Bank Indonesia checking, or now we have SLIC, the credit history of our banking customers data. So that's very important. And we have already adopted a system since, I don't know, 15 years, I guess. And the system itself has been evaluated. I think has been gone through so many evolution and also some renewal. So I think hopefully this final stage of the evolution of credit bureau in Indonesia, certainly the public credit registry, would give a very good benefit to the public. Certainly, the person or the customer who are going to join the banking system. But now, after that, we encounter the emergence of fintech P2P lending, and certainly there are also the need for another database for the credit history. Why? Because most of the P2P customer are not belong to the banking system. They are unbanked people. It means that we cannot find the data in the SLIC for their particular potential customers, because they are actually out of banking system. They are unbankable people. So by the consideration to again lessen the risk credit risk, sorry, the Association of P2P Lending developed their own data credit database. So I think this is a very good opportunity to lessen the fraud management system as well. So we are going to develop such system in nationwide or maybe in a more broader context, because of definitely the fraud management database is very important, not only for P2P, but for other fintech as well. Still, in this case, I think we feel that it is not really enough because of we can see the so many potential customer that doesn't have any track record at all, but certainly they have some other means. That's why when the proposal came to us, one of which from Tong Dun, for example, we could really we were very delighted to receive such proposal, because we now have alternative or new ways to know the creditworthiness of the customer, or maybe or of the person who are going to enroll the financial services. So this is very important, because we would like to have a credible customer to get involved in this financial system. We don't want to degrade the quality of transaction or quality of a person in the financial system, because it will then shock the system, and it will certainly impact the stability of the system. This is very important and very scary. And as you probably know, that OJK is always come with the notion that we are maintaining the stability. This is very important for us. We would like to maintain the financials as stable as we can, and I think this is again very critical factor to maintain the stability. So that's very simple reason why we now embrace the innovative credit scoring. And the second thing is that certainly the target of inclusion level, financial inclusion level from the president is quite high, 90%. So the literacy program is even higher, I guess. So to chase that target, we should really use all means to collaborate with some other parties, and also to use all the tools that we have, one of which is alternative credit scoring. It is very impossible to know somebody, to know the quality of the person without knowing what is the history, and also what is the behavior of such person. Certainly, again, get back to my previous statement, not really to guarantee, but at least to know them. Who are they? Are they credible enough to get involved in this financial sector? It is very important. That's the answer that we should get before we join the financial sector. So basically, those are things that attract us to really, again, embrace this innovative credit scoring. Certainly, as the regulator, we are going to take our position right in the right position, because of we have to really get balance between the innovation and development, and also the prudential or the stability that I mentioned. So now we are under discussion, because the sandbox of this cluster has been over, I guess. So I think we are now preparing to get the stance, what we are going to go further with this, whether we are going to develop new regulations or else, because it is very important. That's a very agreeable term, but certainly we should come up with a solution for the future of this industry. Maybe this is my very long, but hopefully it could answer your question. So the reason why we then come up with this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Gani, for a great explanation to me, and maybe add some new knowledge for the participant. Okay, we will move to Mr. Jekalma, live from China. Wow, hello, Mr. Jekalma.
Hello, thank you. And again, I would like to say happy birthday to OJK. Like, it's great to be here. Like a great introduction from Patriano. I remember like going to talk to OJK about alternative data scoring
Sure, right.
starting in
Yes, yes.
2018.
2018,
And now
yes,
we're
yes,
using it, we're doing it, and then I think everybody have started some pretty interesting job. It is
Right.
only the beginning though.
Right.
So let me share some of my thoughts on how we come to this point about innovative credit scoring or alternative data scoring. When Tongdun, we enter a lot of different countries in the world and start building business around innovative credit scoring, we normally find out most countries in emerging market, their credit bureau coverage as well as their bank card penetration is relatively low. Therefore, most applicants of loans have no or limited information on them, making it very difficult for us to underwrite loans. However, very interesting point is most of these populations have very high mobile internet usage. So making it possible to collect, of course, within the privacy protection framework, collect abstract behavior from e-commerce, online travel, O2O, etc. And also other digital information from service providers, such as telecom service provider, energy and water utilities, payment service provider, and many others. And all of these make it possible for us to form a tight view of a consumer or an SME based on a collection of loosely linked behavior from different service providers. So that is really my thoughts on why we are doing this, and it is made possible through the usage of the latest data science and artificial intelligence technology. And in many markets, and also in Indonesia, definitely, it is proven that this innovative credit scoring provide very important tools for financial services institutions to expand and target into customer segments that are previously unreachable. So that will be my simple answer. Back to you.
Okay. I'm very curious why Tongdun come from China to Indonesia, because I curious what is the next trend we should expect in Indonesia, sir, for Tongdun perspective. What is the next trend we should expect in Indonesia? Can you explain to participants, including me?
Sure. I'm going to talk in multiple areas. The reason why we come to Indonesia is we find out that there's a lot of similarities with large population countries and how we are trying to solve the problem and promote more internal economic activities. And we need a lot of activities, and then financial inclusion problem need to be solved. That's what we set out to solve when we start the company 7 years ago. And then we have since then used that technology on anti-fraud and credit underwriting with one of the largest pool of data scientists and technologists in the whole region. So that's why we started. And then if we look at the slides that we have put up, the very interesting area that we've seen in China, that we can definitely predict in Indonesia, is we actually see focus on rural areas in the area of lending. It's really increased and becoming very, very important. And then if you look at the free curve, the consumer, the non-bank finance, as well as the banking, I think there's steady increase during the pandemic, but all around, they are of very high percentage of the overall banking lending situation. So what we see here is China's fast recovery from the pandemic, for example, had a lot to do with the effective lending program that can be out there at the 4th, 5th tier cities that we see. So I think that's a very interesting trend, and definitely in Indonesia we haven't been at that level from a percentage of portfolio yet, but we definitely will see that Indonesia will move up there. But how we do that is going to be very, very important questions. So there needs to be a lot of new technologies to help us to get to these people where we don't have any information about in the past. So that's the situation we see expanding in the 4th and 5th tier cities. Okay. And then if we go into the next slide. Okay. The interesting thing about this slide is we see that throughout the last, I would say 18, 20 months or so, we've seen a lot of penetrations into 4th and 5th tier cities, rural cities, from the China lending market. And then, however, one will originally expect that the credit risk as you move your percentage up and as the whole population in the rural area is starting to participate in these lending programs, originally you expect pretty bad rate. But if you look at the screen, you find out that it doesn't matter whether we're talking about banking, we're talking about consumer or non-bank finance, they are still within very, very controllable range that we've seen. How does that happen? Well, we've seen China actually adopt alternative data scoring or innovative credit scoring a lot earlier. I think they have put in the right infrastructure, have the right regulations around so that a company like Tongdun can provide very, very effective scores for people when assessing these non-bank consumer. And I think lately that has been extended also to SMEs as well, because I think it's a very important target group of people that the government is trying to help through this pandemic. So with all this alternative data scoring that we've seen, as I've mentioned, for example, electricity and water supply bills and information on that, online travel informations or even travel patterns and a lot of very interesting informations. You can really have them come together, and then we use that into our new model. And then with that, we can easily score people and give out some pretty good estimation of their behavior. So all in all, I just want to say first is the rural area is everybody's, market is the pie that everybody want to eat. But on the other hand, we just need to make sure we have the tools ready, and alternative data is definitely one of the tools that we need to focus on. Peter, can you go to the next slide? Okay. A case studies of what we see. I want to use this to show what we have done. Well, basically, we have used what we call Zero score, and in Indonesia we call them a Fin score, where a lot of people have used. And then you can see basically we use alternative data and while using sample quality of about 63,000, okay, with a coverage of 99.7%, we actually, the testing results really shows very strong KS, so very good prediction power on the model on people's ability to repay. And then if we look at the chart on below, you will find out that the score and then their ability to paid actually trend very correctly. And then our score also followed a pretty good normalized the distributions. So all these shows that the usage of alternative data scores work very well. And mind you, this particular sample that I'm talking about is very much a big part of it is in rural areas. So that's the test that we're doing. And then one more thing that I want to specify is like so far after entering the sandbox and then start providing services to a lot of organizations in Indonesia, I'm pretty happy because like BRI, Indodana, they are all our customers, and like good to see all of you. Like I think initially our fin scores are very, very much like focus on like tier 1 and tier 2 customers. However, we are like working on data sources to make sure we can extend that to tier 3, tier 4, like cities and beyond. So like with our experience in other countries, we are sure we would be able to do that, but it's going to take time, and then it's going to take like government support, and then like especially on how data is being regulated, how we can use more information and so on. So this is what we're going to see. You're going to hear me like saying this, like the same thing a couple of times. I think this particular term, which say data is like a very important element of country productivity. I think data as an important element of country productivity right now, we really need a lot of help from the government to make sure from a regulation perspective, from an encouragement perspective, from a financial health perspective, will help like really expanding this ecosystem so that we had a very healthy systems, both in the metropolitan areas as well as in the rural areas. So that's what we see so far. Like we are bringing these technologies, and they are already in like Indonesia. A lot of people are using it right now, but we find it as more data is available. So that's pretty much like what we've done, and like what I think is going to happen. Focus on rural, like it's becoming more and more important all in all. Okay, I hope I didn't exceed my time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jekyll. Thank you for your perspective for trend, what the next trend in Indonesia. And also you already explained well about how can we accelerate our progress to increase financial inclusion and market penetration in rural areas, including your case study. Wow, it's a lot of insight there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jekyll. I'll move to Pak Roni Wijaya, founder of Indodana. Halo Pak Roni. Pak Roni Wijaya. Okay. At the beginning of the session, I already explained a bit of Indodana. Can you explain more about the background, maybe the development of Indodana businesses, including in this pandemic situation?
Sure. So before I start, I want to say hi to all of the panelists, Pak Triyono, Pak Jekyll, Pak Kaspar, Pak Mario, and Pak William. And I want to say happy birthday as well to OJK. Yeah. So a little bit background of Indodana. We started in 2018, and now we have been doing multiple different products such as pay later and cash loan. This year, we have become a fully licensed entity as a peer-to-peer fintech lending. And in the business process that we are doing, we always try to hone the technology of artificial intelligence. And in that process, innovative credit scoring is actually one of the major components that we have to do, and we have to do it right. Yeah, with the help of all the friends here and the ecosystems, we've been able to do it really, really well. And in the era of COVID, or in this pandemic era, it's actually very helpful for us to be able to do this distinctions between the good borrower and the bad borrowers. In this case, all the learning that we have done through all the friends here and what we have been doing in our homework to do the learning have been very helpful for us to do our business in this transition of this new normal.
Okay, so for the potential P2P lending collaboration, maybe with the innovative credits, or maybe with the banking from BRI. Maybe you can give us example of the potential collaboration between P2P and innovative credit scoring, or maybe with the banking?
Yes. So one of the most important ingredients of a credit scoring is actually a very reliable data, and so the data has to be very clean, it has to be trustable, and the availability matters a lot too as well. So I do agree what Pak Triyono was saying earlier. So one of our role as a peer-to-peer fintech lending is we go into this uncharted territory where probably the credit scoring previously has not been as complete as the other segment market. So we try to go there and we try to map it out for these people. So we know like, oh, okay, for these people, the credit scoring, even though it's not as significant as the existing infrastructure, but we know something about it, and we can make like an informed decisions about giving credit to them. That's the first. Certainly, whatever that we are doing, the banks and all the existing financial infrastructures have been doing it really, really well for their own segment markets. So there's a lot of learning collaborations between us and them, where we can see like, oh, in this segment market, they've been doing it this way, and we try to see whether there's a parallel between the two, and we try to see whether we can bring all those learning into this new segment market as well.
Okay. And the last one is, have you had a suggestion and input to encourage better credit scoring since OJK is here, or maybe from the banking perspective is here too, and all for the all participant maybe that what's asked right now?
Yeah. So before that, I want to say that we have been, as a country, we have been actually doing quite an astounding job building the ecosystems. This is kudos to OJK and all the associations. So we know that there are some data where it is gathered, and we can see to refer whether someone is actually a good borrower or bad borrower. I do wish that collaborations will become bigger and stronger throughout the years. We would be very happy to contribute as well. Mm-hmm. And I think with that going along the way, we also try to make sure that the quality of the data is also being maintained correctly. So like I said before, it has to be very clean, it has to be trustable as well, consistently available. And with all the cooperation of all these players, I believe we are in the position to build such a great collaborations down the road.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roni Wijaya, for your explanation. It's quite in-depth knowledge for me and for the participant from P2P lending industry in Indonesia about the credit scoring. Okay, we move to Mr. Kaspar Situmorang, EVP of Digital Business, Digital Banking Business in BRI. Halo Pak Kaspar.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Suara saya kedengaran?
Kedengaran Pak Kaspar. Waalaikumsalam Pak. Okay Pak, I will question for how does BRI use data credit to help provide services? I know BRI have one of the biggest bank in Indonesia and also have the largest network in financial institution to Indonesia. Can you explain to me how does BRI use data credit to help provide services?
All right. Our most distinguished panelist, my mentor, Pak Triyono from OJK, Pak Roni from Indodana, Pak Jakal from Tongden. It's a very good day, I think, to discuss about credit scoring, especially on Q3. Bank Rakyat Indonesia is still able to get 5.x something % of growth compared to any other peers and things in Indonesia. So this is definitely good topics, especially in this pandemic, I think. As one of the biggest microfinance banks in the world, I think Bank Rakyat Indonesia were exposed to high operational as well as reputational cost and risk. Yeah? So that's why since 2017, we've always started to accelerate the digital and cultural transformations. So back then we have our mantra by the name of 3S. So go smaller, go shorter, and go swifter in order to be able to create a faster, better, and cheaper product. Yeah? So as a bank, of course, lending is one of our core business strength, right? So, and BRI is one of the market leaders in micro lending and salary loan. So previously, before 2017, we've had one too many scattered credit report systems inside our bank. So many divisions have their own underwriting for their own customers. So to overcome this, back in 2017 onwards, we've decided to, have a neural network systems to underwrite our own customers in the form of a centralized credit reports. And so this credit report can be used by us and the customers to make instant decisions, of course, by the name of BRI brains. So these BRI brains are able to provide and match recommended the right customers to our products inside the banks. So basically, BRI brains is the task of the BRI brain is to systematically organize our customers' information in scores, right? So by organizing this and make it accessible via APIs to many of our applications and sites. So the BRI score, which consists not only credit score, but also merchant score, profiling score, and also fraud scores. The credit score itself can be broken down into two scores though, which are the application scores to provide a score of customers, eligibilities to obtain a loans, and also behavior scores provide a customer's feasibility score for obtaining a loan or topping up a loan, for example. So as mentioned before, all in all, the goal is not only to create a faster, better, and cheaper, but also has a, in the futures, we'll be able to provide a much more better pricing, I think, to end customers, I think. And can we go next, I think? Well, luckily you've already presented. So yeah, before 2018, the process of loan origination at Bank Rakyat Indonesia still used pen and paper back then. So the underwriting, of course, also lots of people's by manuals. It took about 2 weeks to get the job done, I think. So since 2018, we are able to accelerate this process to become just less than 2 days. And luckily, by 2019, we were given the license and the approvals by the regulators, including OJKs. And since then, we are able to basically scan the ID, scan the face of our customers, the money disbursed in less than 2 minutes back. So this is the beauty of, I think, instant underwriting based on, of course, majority structured data. And the recent days, I think we've just toying around with some of the unstructured data as well. However, the data sets from the unstructured is still not too many. So this is the arena of innovations that we are trying to boost, I think, by the end of this year and starting next year. Hopefully, we can see lots of innovations in the in AFTECH, we call it innovative credit scoring, I think. Hopefully, we can see lots of innovations to predict better in terms of repayment capacity and default rate for customers in Indonesia. Especially, we still have a homework. About 92 million of Indonesian customers are still unbanked. So this is a lot of challenge and a lot of possibility as well, not only for banks, but also for fintechs. We work together with lots of fintechs as well. We have BRI Venture Capital, which we invest also in some of the fintechs in Indonesia, I think. And since 2018, we also working together with fintechs in channelings and also in working together with them to accelerate, I think, not only financial inclusions in Indonesia, but also economic inclusions in Indonesia. I think that will be our message, Mario, I think. Back to you.
Okay. Okay, nice technology that developed by BRI. I'm alumni from BRI too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the next question is, any potential can innovative credit scoring, let's say Tongdun or P2P lending player such as Indodana can collaborate more with the banking sectors or maybe with BRI, maybe, Mr. Kasper?
I think definitely, yeah. I've already mentioned before, we do bimodal ways. We do explorations and exploitations, meaning since 2018, I think we were, the first bank who got the license by from OJKs to work together with one of the fintechs by the name of Industry back then. We tried to channel about 50 billion rupiah, and we run it for 3 months, and it's 0 NPLs. And then we start again bigger, 200 billion rupiah, still 0 NPL, and now up to 2 trillions. The NPL is still less than 0.5%. So this is one of our collaborations with fintechs. They do their underwriting, we do another underwriting, we connect with APIs, and we've seen a fruitful collaborations on that. And once we've already comfortable with that, we try to invest as well on the second vehicles of us through BRI Venture Capitals. We invest also to some of the fintechs, like one of them is Industries and many other companies in Indonesia. And the third one is we've also working together with our APIs to accommodate whatever fintechs needs in order to be able to expand their distributions through our APIs, BRI API, which is already about 40 trillion rupiah since Jan to October this year. So we've create lots of instruments, to accelerate our collaborations with fintechs in order to be able to get better tractions and also better services, to all of Indonesians nationwide, Mario,
Okay. The last one, maybe any feedback to encourage better credit scoring? Maybe your suggestion to OJK or the fintech lending players, or maybe Tongdun? Any feedback to encourage better credit scoring?
I think our regulators right now is already top notch. OJK is already provide lots of innovative instruments, Sandbox, and also POJK 12 2018 for banking, POJK 12 13 for non-banking things. So I think with these instruments, we sharpen up this opportunity. It was already provided by OJKs in order to be able to be innovative. However, we also need to take care on the risk management side. So, when we talk about credit scoring, we must assess using a standardized assessment that's already provided in a large methodology. We always have two-prong in order to be able to validate, which is the first qualitative ways. We always try to see the model design, the data quality and integrity, and the documentations, of course. Otherwise, we cannot talk about credit scoring if you don't have the documentations properly, And the second prong is the quantitative one, which is we must be able to see the stability of our models, the populations, model output, characteristics, and the performance and the calibrations itself, So this is, our hyper collaborations between all parties, not only banks, not only fintechs, regulators, telcos, and many other parties who owned unstructured data out there. We are, this morning we have a very great sessions, with other panelists from OJKs as well. So this is the need to provide and create, some sort of a, the cyber crime these days is getting crazier and crazier, So this is what I would like to propose, So how can we work together to create some sort of a shared blacklist, in order to be able to temper off, cybercrime in this pandemic increased about 30 to 40%. So we would like to work together with anybody and everybody's in this industries, So we could create a better and safer product, especially in lending, in order to be able to accelerate our economic growth after the pandemics. Back to you, Pak.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaspar, for the top-notch explanation. Okay, we open the Q&A session. Maybe.
Pak Mario, you're still
okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaspar, for the top-notch explanation. I will read some question from the Q&A box. The first one is from UBUB. The biggest problem for the unbankable and unlinkable customer is their device not supported for apply credit since the fintech company using Android system. So how the fintech company could get more new customers from the new one? Maybe Mr. Ronnie can answer this first.
Yes. So I guess, so the question is, how do we onboard more people with with a greater availability? So the first one is we try to make sure that all of our distribution channel would be available to all of them. So in this case, in Indodana side, we have decided that going through the Android and all the mobile phone platforms, we would be able to provide good services to these people, and we can do enough KYC just to do enough KYC for us to be able to trust these customers and distribute the loan. So that's the first one. And the second one is, I think with all the banking infrastructure of Indonesia is ramping up their coverage, I think it's very, very extremely helpful for us because it allows us to distribute the disbursements of the loans even way better, and it's even easier than before. Like what DRI was saying, they can provide some APIs where we can collaborate to these banks. That opens up a lot of new collaborations. That approach is actually a very good approach for our ecosystem.
Okay, maybe Mr. Kaspar can add some answer maybe for this question, because BRI also develop fintech too and also invest in fintech too. Mr. Kaspar.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is twofold. Yeah, one is we could always help fintechs in order to get and reach their own customer, their own segments, wherever it is nationwide in Indonesia. So by having provide our APIs, lots of APIs in payments, for repayments, we have RDLs as well. We open up these APIs to each and every fintechs. You can just go to developers.bri.co.id. You can apply there. Less than an hour, you can get our APIs over there and play around with lots of APIs. Whatever you need over there is already ready. The second way is the collaborations, of course, in the channeling pack. So the channeling, we could always provide our funds in order to be able to distribute together with the fintechs, especially which fintechs who has their own specialty in the specific segments, I think, which we call it the niche market, which we don't serve at the moment. And the third one is, I think, what we call through investing in one of the fintechs, that we need to have a synergy, I think, for our group as well. So our group banking, we have also, insurance, because when we're talking about P2P lending, lots of these loans must have insurance cover as well. So all of these APIs, we can help together with our investment arms in BRI Venture Capital, bundling it. And if we see there's synergy, we might also to invest it together, Pak Mario. So this three approach, I think we've already keep doing it since 2018 until today. So I think that will be our approach to fintech, I think. So this is a game of collaborations. We call it hyper collaborations, I think. Pak Triyono always endorsed about hyper collaborations through Sandbox, through APIs, and through incubations and also accelerators in Indonesia, I think. Back to you, Mario.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaspar. Okay, Yubi. Hope the speakers already answer your question. The next one is from Agnes Alfeda. For Pak Triyono Gani, will OJK regulate the business licensing and business operation of innovative credit scoring? To our understanding, currently the innovative credit scoring is still subject to the OJK sandbox, and only the LPIP business being regulated and supervised by OJK. Pak Triyono Gani, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Let me just show some slides. Mas Bintang mungkin bisa di-show ya. This is the reason why we have to regulate alternative credit scoring. Maybe since have gone through the sandbox process. And I would say that our sandbox process have gone very successfully. And I would also talk to some other regulators in ASEAN and also whoever come to us. I recommend to conduct a regulatory sandbox. This is very good practice, whereby we can discuss and also learn from the industry very well. This is very good approach, and I guess we have searching so many ways to deal with innovations, but I guess we have chosen the most proper way. And I believe that all the participants as well are very welcome to join our regulatory sandbox. So at least we have 8 reasons why we need to regulate this alternative credit scoring. Sorry, this is in Bahasa. Hopefully, Mr. Jacoma can also have a translation version for yourself. And the first would be this is not important for the public actually. This is but important for us because of we were supported by ADB in developing this innovative credit scoring framework. That's why this is for our accountability for them to show that the project has gone very well. And the second, certainly, this is very important thing. We are also expecting the personal data protection law to come. But from our experiences, I think it is very obvious that data protection is very, very important. And certainly, if we know that data is also a very sensitive thing to be explored or to be exploited, we should have a very clear, a rule of the game on this. We have to make sure that the data which is under, I don't know, modeled by the credit scoring should be really comply with data protection issues. Otherwise, there will be some other new problems, certainly. For example, if the person then accessing private data, which is protected, should be protected by, according to the law, I think it will create another problem. So for regulators, it's very important to recommend or to launch this model, which is comply with the regulation, the existing one, and also the possible future regulation as well. And the third point is certainly, I have already talked about this, about the unbankable rate, which is very high in Indonesia. And relates to the question about the LPIP, this is the credit bureau. OJK always maintained the balance between the existing financial institution and certainly the fintech, and we are avoiding practice which is really crossing the border of the regulation, the existing one. Maybe you also recall about the term shadow banking, shadow insurance. That's the thing that we would avoid. Certainly in this case, we have already existing regulation on credit bureau, the so-called LPIP. And we are going to prevent all the credit scoring companies to deal or to practice beyond their authority. I mean, we now create a very clear territory between the LPIP and also the credit scoring. Certainly, LPIP has so many requirements to comply with, and it is very costly to develop a very good credit bureau and very capital intensive as well. Imagine if we then let the innovative credit scoring companies, which is small and also very agile company, then disrupt the LPIP business. It is not good in the sense of regulatory credibility. That's why we would like to put them in the proper parameter. So I think this is very important thing to set the business parameter, which one is for the LPIP and which one is for the credit scoring. And certainly the number 5 is financial inclusion, and number 6 would be relate to the number 4 as well, about how to maintain the playing field between the LPIP and also the alternative credit scoring. And number 7, certainly I also have mentioned this previously about maintaining or mitigating the fraud risk. And lastly, about the legal standing for innovative credit scoring business. This is very important as well, because otherwise they would have no certainty in their future. So if we have already issued new regulation on the credit scoring, certainly they have they will have a certainty in terms of dealing with the financial institution or maybe in developing their business in the future. So at least I can say at 8 reasons why we have to regulate this alternative credit scoring. Hopefully this answers this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Triyono Gani. Let's see the next question from Mr. Rahmat Prayoga specifically to Mr. Jekelma. For Mr. Jekelma, do you have constraint in collecting individual potential debtors data and financial behavior of those individuals? How do you segmenting individuals both demographically and behaviorally? Kindly share your experience in Indonesia. Okay, I give Mr. Jekelma to have answered this question maybe.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I think definitely gathering enough data sources to have a meaningful score is always difficult, like any country that we go to. And in Indonesia, we find out that while we are drafting white papers and on a lot of code of conduct on what can be done, what can't be done, and so on, on the data that's being collected, it's still a lot of gray area. And as a company that remain focused on making sure we do everything complied by the law, we always need to go and seek legal advice on what can be done and what couldn't be done. In terms of collecting data, basically, well, it's not a matter of collection of data, it's a whole ecosystem. So up from the beginning of a piece of data enter a particular organization, this organization, does it have the right authorization to collect the information? And then even if it does have the right to collect the information, does he have the right to process, store, and output? And even if he has the right to output, we have to figure out what scenarios is these output allowed. So if this scenario is on the authorization, we only say that it can be used on credit lending and collections. So an insurance company come to us and say that, hey, I want to use that information for selling insurance. That couldn't be done. So the whole process of how do you collect, how do you process, how do you store, how do you output becoming a really big thing. And then the challenge that I have, in particular, when we first entered Indonesia is, I think a lot of organizations have data, and then we're helping everyone to understand the legal frameworks around everything. But on the other hand, most people have information in a pretty raw format. And in a lot of way, complying to GDPR and a lot of way, these data cannot be output in its raw format. So I really see a lot of organization really is not advanced enough to output or analyze in a continuous way on how to extract the useful knowledge and try to have it publicly available. I think that has been, like, I would say, what I've seen, but we have started to help a lot of these type of organizations. And mind you, this is not unique in Indonesia. Like in China, for example, the electricity grid company have a lot of information, but they don't know how to extract them, how to analyze them, and how to abstract them into a format that can comply with data privacy, but on the other hand, can help people on doing credit analysis. So like a company like us, like ours, like not only need to help come up with scores and so on, we also need to help these organizations with our technology to help them to output the right thing. So I think that's the interesting thing. It's not only like providing something, we also need to help people to start flowing data, as I previously mentioned. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jekalma. Hope already answered from the questions. Okay, let's see the next one from Adi Vitarapurba. How important is an independent credit scoring agency according to the panelists? And also, what is the pros and cons as opposed to having the credit scoring in-house? Maybe we can get answer first from Mr. Roni from Indonesia.
Yes. So it is actually very important for us to collaborate with a third party that can give us some scoring. So all the data that we have been gathering, sometimes it won't be as complete to represent a good representation of a borrower. And sometimes we do, and sometimes we know there are some other players like Tongdun where we can learn about what they have been doing in that place and the lessons that they can we can extract out of them, and we can use it in our platforms as immediately. So I think it is very important because sometimes they can see the data that we are not seeing. That's the first one. So it's more of a complete data. And the second one is I think there are some techniques where they can also teach us in processing these data and making decisions. And for the second questions is whether we actually combine those two. So we combine the third-party scoring data that they are given to us, and we also have our internal scoring where we put all into considerations of all these outside data, and eventually we will make our own decision whether we want to give the loan or not based on our conditions specific to Indodana.
Okay, maybe Mr. Kaspar can add perspective from banking industry, maybe. Mr. Kaspar.
Yeah, sure. I agree, I think, with Ronnie. It's about how can we see this as an opportunity, yeah, not as obstacles, I think, by Mario. So let me try to answer also some other questions from Slamet Puji Santoso, I think, along with that, I think, just to mix up together, I think.
Okay.
Right, so
okay, thank you.
I think when we talk about credit scoring is one of the early predictors in order to be able to provide this loan or not to give this loan to the customers, right? However, credit scoring is only around about 30%, I think, in the whole journeys of digital lending, for example. Right? After you do credit scoring, and then there is another part which we compare, for example, whether this identity is the right identity using biometrics, and then there's another part on the digital signatures, and then there's another part on the collection, repayments, write-off, and so on and so forth, I think, right? So credit scoring is not the holy grail for everything in the business of lending, I think, right? It's one of the puzzles that we need to solve in order to be able to predict and provide faster, better, and cheaper services on digital lending, I think, Pak. So by saying that, I think we need to talk about an end-to-end solutions, I think, starting from sourcing evaluations and approval, services and reporting, up to the collections and write-off, I think. And not to mention about the insurance of the lending that we provide as well. So a holistic and end-to-end solutions need to be created and need to be governed by regulators, I think, which we are in banking. We've already done this for 125 years, Pak Mario and all the panelists. I think Pak Triono is our mentor here. But in fintechs, I think this is very new, right? And this is still in an infancy and starting to pick up the pace. So I think the message here, I think, is to build an end-to-end monitoring process and optimize each and every bottlenecks, I think, by the specific and highly automated, I think, in order to be able to scale up, and also in order to get the better pricing, in order to get the best results, I think, from the end users, I think. So last but not least, to create a faster, better, and cheaper, it's very difficult. I mean, most of the fintechs right now, I think I must say, the one that we've already seen from the market, it's not getting cheaper. You know, the interest rate is getting expensive. So this is our challenge together in the industry, I think. How can we make a faster, better, and cheaper by using this ICS, right? But how can we get the alternative data, unstructured data, much better, much faster, I think, through by the third-party organizations such as LPPI or any other part of data providers that could accelerate us in order to do instant underwriting part. Last but not least, I think from our side, in order to do a better underwriting, I think we need to have a standardized, I think. Otherwise, like in banking, we were always governed, right, reported, and our model also being, quantitatively and qualitatively being checked all the time, I think, from the regulator. So this is something that we are expecting, I think, the similar approach to be endorsed, I think, to our fellows in fintechs, I think. Why? Because we are hoping, I think, by the next 2-3 years, there will be IPO company from P2P. All right. Hopefully, for the next 3 years, there will be IPO from AFTI or AFTECH, I think. That will be from us, Pak Mario. Best of luck.
Okay. Faster, better, cheaper. That's the keyword there. Okay. Thank you for all participant question for these 4 speakers, but unfortunately, we go through the closing session. Maybe Pak Triono Gani, have you any closing statement to this session and for the participant according to innovative credit scoring? Closing statement.
Okay, Pak Mario, I think before I have my closing statement, I would like to touch upon Ibu Catherine's question about how long that the regulation will take. I always share in some sessions that my task is similar to the fintech, because fintech is trying to sell the business to the market, to the customer. But for myself, I'm trying to sell the idea to the OJK internally. So I think I'm also a salesperson to OJK internal. So that's a very, very tough process to do. And certainly I have to go through some discussion, and the process of developing regulation in OJK is also not that simple. So we have to go through so many steps that we should follow. So keep the faith, and also support me always in order to really get the regulation come up very soon. And about my last statement, I would like to quote the Star Wars movies theme. So the alternative credit scoring or innovative credit scoring is like a Star Wars movie theme, because they are boldly go to the places that anyone has gone before. I guess that's my closing statement. Thank you very much, Pak Mario.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Triono Gani. from Jekelma, if you any closing statement to this session, maybe.
Sure, this is a great session, and I just want to emphasize one thing. I think government support is so important. Like as I mentioned, like data is a very important element of the country's productivity. So policies and regulations that's on one hand cater for stability of the country's financial systems, as Park Chuano has mentioned, but on the other hand also help to increase the data flow it's needed. I can give one example, like we have an experiment in one city in China where the local government actually put out government data for total scoring experts to output an innovative SME credit score in a protected environment. And then that is proven that it helps a lot of regional banks to lend to local SMEs. And there's a lot of great results during the global pandemic. In the first 6 months of 2020, that particular system helped lending out more than 40 trillion Indonesia rupiah. And we are talking about a third, fourth tier cities. And then like that we're doing this experiment in. So I think there's a lot of innovative things that government together with organizations can come together, put it in like different type of sandboxes and experiment around. And I think like, well, really under this current economic situation, I think a lot of people are in need like for money. So like that's really my like ending comment. I think like we want more collaboration with the government.
Mr. Jekelma, thank you. This is there is question from Q&A. Maybe just one question for you. Have you, from Raja Alia Raja Aziz, have you faced major issues with data reliability in Indonesia? And what are some potential solutions? Pardon me, because there is a question come up from the Q&A box. Maybe
can you
can answer.
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite get that. The network.
Okay.
Off.
Have you faced major issues with data reliability in Indonesia? And what are some potential solutions for the data reliability in Indonesia?
Well, I think we are working on it. Yes, I do. Like on one hand, like data may be available, but they are so expensive. Like putting these into scores and use it every day on like these $500 alone, it's impossible. So like we need to come up with like alternative way, like for the same piece of information very carefully. So like we choose different type of like alternative data and try and experiment with it so as to replace some more expensive data. And I think we do that all the time. And well, I would say the availability of like this information, this data, and availability of the data scientists locally, like that can help us. It's not always that easy. Like at times I always need to fly different people from Singapore, from like different part of the region, trying to come in to help and so on. So I think like besides the data, the availability of data and like the price of data and all these, I also at times have like, I would say local talent, like difficulties that I've seen, and then we have to solve it. And then like we are training a lot of people locally on one hand, and also we work with, like because in all these scenarios, we know where the data are, like what are the successful indicators around the world that we've seen. And we actually go to the source and work with a lot of people. Like my team is actually one major task like that they have is to get the right data so that we can have the right output for our customers in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jekelma, for your answer and closing statement. Next one, Mr. Roni Wijay. Roni, maybe you have any closing statement or closing remarks according these topics.
Thank you. So I think it was a great session, and we are actually at a crossroad on this implementation of innovative credit scoring, so where we can have more collaborative dynamic in the environment and the ecosystems. So I wish that so this this is really, we have been doing an astounding job, and it's not really easy to replicate in this country. I want this to be kept up, and we want to do this even better in the future. And yeah, I think down the line with this, I think we can be one of the most advanced countries where we can build this infrastructure and having like a good pipeline for the financial system. So yeah, really looking forward for it. Indodana is working hard, doing our homeworks to have a role in this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ronnie Wijaya, for your closing statement. And last but not least, Mr. Kaspar Situmorang.
Yep.
There is one question come out Q&A box, Mr. Kaspar. Maybe you can answer it. The ICS use alternative data or informal data than formal data. So actually, what kind of alternative data that fintech can use for innovative credit scoring? Let's say for B to B and for B to C.
Right. So I think
before closing statement.
I think lots of alternative data out there. Yeah. We can see. I think we can see. If we have a matrix 2x2, we always have this matrix 2x2 in Bank Rakyat Indonesia when we talk about alternative data. So the x-axis is the predictive power, the y-axis is the ease of ability. So we're talking about since psychometric, social media, e-commerce data, mobile device, the utility data that mentioned by Jackals earlier, house rentals and telcos. I think these are some of the data that are very, very useful, I think, in order to be able to predict repayment capacity or default rates from each and every segments in Indonesia, I think, Pak Mario, I think. Hopefully that answered the question, I think. And okay. On my closing remark, I think it's very simple. Last week, we had sessions also with AFTECH. In order to become the top 5 world economy in 2045, I think, Indonesia must have an excellent digital ID and digital scoring systems. I must agree, I think. Similar like what we happened in China and in US, I think, right? Because when we have it, the digital ID and digital scoring systems, all financial institutions can propel the lending distributions to all micro, small, and medium enterprises to be the breadwinners in Indonesia, ASEAN, and of course to the world, I think. So in order to have that, we must lay out the infrastructure since today. So we are able later on along the years to see the impact, I think, to not only the small, medium enterprise and micros in Indonesia, but also to the ASEAN community and the world community, because the world is very big. And so we need to collaborate with each and every players all over the globe who are already there at the moment. We need to transfer some of the knowledge, I think, to Indonesia. So we are able together to become top 5 world economy in 2045. I think that will be all from me, Mario. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaspar. Thank you for all 4 speakers for this fantastic panel discussion. Thank you, Pak Triyono Gani. Once again, happy birthday to OJK. Thank you for Mr. Jekyll is live from China. Hope you safe and sound in China. And also Mr. Ronnie Wijaya, hope success for Indodana and all the businesses. And Mr. Kaspar Situmorang, thank you. And on 16 December, BRR will go birthday too, yeah? 16 December next month. Okay, thank you. All the participants, hope you get new knowledge and all insight about credit scoring from this panel discussion. Stay safe and sound, stay productive, be optimism about our economic and business situation. Thank you. Back to MC.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pak Mario, for the great moderation, Pak. It's been a very great session moderated by you. Thank you so much, Pak Triyono Gani, Mr. Jekyll, Pak Roni, Pak Kaspar, for sharing important points and also for continuously supporting AFTECH literacy programs, especially during this Pekan Fintech Nasional, Indonesia Fintech Week 2020, and in the topic of innovative credit scoring. And just for information, Bapak Ibu, Sobat Fintech, all of those initiatives are very related with AFTECH works, especially on innovative credit scoring. And we have just launched the Code of Conduct and also white paper on ICS, on innovative credit scoring. So make sure that you are going to download and read that afterwards. So don't forget, Bapak Ibu, Sobat Fintech, that the series of activities, events, webinars, and also sharing session during the Indonesia Fintech Week is still on. It hasn't ended yet. So tomorrow we have another sessions, and on Wednesday, on the 25th of November, we are going to have the closing ceremony of National Fintech Week 2020, which will be attended and also presented the speech by the Vice President of Indonesia. So make sure that you check our website, www.fintechsummit.co.id, and make sure you stay tuned and join in all sessions possible, because it's going to be huge. It's going to be very insightful. Last but not least, on behalf of AFTECH Secretariat, I would like to once again thank all speakers, all of you, Bapak Ibu, Sobat Fintech, for supporting us. Stay tuned, stay safe, and see you next time.
Thank you, Pak Triyono.
Terima kasih Pak Kaspar.
Terima kasih.
Thank you very much.
Bapak Ibu.
Bye.
Ya,
Sampai jumpa lagi, Pak.
Pak Roni,
Jumpa.
terima kasih, Will.
Thank you,
Dan
Pak.
Pak,
Stay safe. Okay.
ya, Pak Mario, makasih juga.
Terima kasih,
Saya pamit
Pak
ya.
Triyono.
Mari.